One, two, three, four, and five. Good morning. How we doing? How we doing? Happy Tuesday. Hopefully your Monday was good. Mine was pretty great. Not gonna lie, mine was pretty great. Really productive. Hit a lot of, got a lot of things marked off. Uh, Team was great. The team that I'm a part of. I mean, everyone's really killing it. So really proud of everyone. Everyone's really doing good. Uh, but yeah, yeah, everything was really good. Thinking about, I was thinking about yesterday. When I went on break, I had some free time. I had saw this post. It was just so wild. It was this lady who was just grilling this like had to be 8, 9-year-old kid who was saying he was talking about like crime statistics, by demographic, and I think he was trying to say something along the lines that you know, trying to disprove that black people do more crime. I think is what his argument was about. I forget if it was they were the victims or if they were the ones doing the crime. Like the offender, and so it was really sweet. The kid was trying. It could have been him just parroting his mom. Which is totally realistic. I think that's probably a huge possibility, but still the kid felt passionate enough to, make a video and share it. And this lady just fucking grills him. She's like, by the way, I have a master's in accounting and uh, something else, accounting and finance or something. Uh, accounting and mathematics. She was just going through, just ripping this kid on his on the numbers he was providing. And it was basically saying uh, her point was that crime disproportionately affects black people. For the for the amount of crime committed by black people. I don't know if it was by or committed against. Again, I'm probably misquoting this, so don't take my word as law. But she said, if you take that number and compare it to the actual size of the population, uh, it is disproportionately higher. And I was like, that's actually really interesting. I should look into crime statistics because I heard that argument and trying to be devil's advocate, partially because I wanted to stand up for this kid. The kid was probably wrong. The kid was probably, she was probably definitely right about the numbers. Like I don't doubt it. Taking an 8-year-old's word over a grown woman with a master's in accounting and mathematics. I'm like, I'm going to lean towards the master's, but I wanted to you know, add some clarity or add some more perspective to it. Because I'm like, it's probably unfair to, my thesis was it was unfair to look at it from just a racial perspective, by just looking at the two numbers. I wanted to see, my whole thesis was that, like, you know, the crime is more of a like a location thing. So like crime has hotspots in certain areas and then look at the population of those areas and uh, determine, okay, these people are committing more crimes. That's because these people live in these hotspot areas. And then the follow-up question would be like, well, why do these people live in these areas? And then get demographic info on the area and demographic people, information on the people of that area, and hopefully find some kind of connection between like education and and like average income, you know, and just kind of provide a fuller picture that's like it is disproportionate to this class of people that we're looking at, and that is because they have you know lower education. This is sounding racist as fuck as I'm saying it, but hopefully was to paint the picture of like lower education and lower income, like less access to resources is why they this class of people have to live in these areas where the crime is higher. And if we look at everyone in that area, we can see that crime is higher, and it's just that a smaller portion of other people, don't live in these high crime areas, so their numbers are lower. You know what I mean? Trying to see, what's the density of, the distribution of people, in different areas, and uh, where are they primarily located, and see if that is the issue. Just try and find a way to massage the numbers and throw some more statistics on it to, provide a fuller picture because I actually was thinking about this the other day. For a separate reason. There is and it applies a lot to my reasoning behind things, and it's the psychologist. Uh, he is he did an experiment where it was basically like showing the influence that a group has on individuals, and what he would do is he'd bring in these groups of college students, and there'd be like four actors and one, random kid that wasn't part of the study, and they would show two cards. One card would have a line drawn on it of a certain height, and another card would have three lines drawn on it, with one line being the same height as the first card, and then two other lines that are obviously very different in height. And what he would do is he would show uh, these two cards, and he would ask the participants, I think this is how the study works, he'd ask the participants, which line on the second card matched the height of the first card. And the actors would go through different stages where they would answer correctly. But the important thing was that at one point, the actors would lie, and they would all lie on the same answer. They would say, "Oh, it's line C." Even though C was obviously wrong, they wanted to see if the random person in that study would stick with their answer because they know that it's obviously right, or if they would be influenced by the four other people who were, seemed equally confident saying that it was the wrong answer. And they found that there is a good, portion of people that would be like, just go with the group, and, even though they know that their answer is right, they would doubt themselves because everyone else seemed like saying the wrong answer was right. And it was really interesting. It had to deal with influence, and it's like, well, how, are you willing to stick with, what you know is the truth, if everyone else around you is, you know is is wrong. Basically, it was a really interesting study. I gotta find where it is in the notes. Yeah, it's down here. But oh yeah, it was the Asch conformity experiments. I'll just pull it up. Uh, just so you can see the cards. So this is the experiment. He would hold up these two cards and he'd be like, all right, here's your line. Which line out of these three is the same height? And it's like, well, it's obviously C. But, you know, during that one trial, all the actors would be like, oh, it's B. B is the right answer. Those are the same height. Just completely wrong. Obviously wrong. And I had to deal a lot with like the confidence of the individual who was, being subject to this experiment. Whether they're like, oh, yeah, fuck these guys. These guys are, dumb. It's obviously C. It's really interesting. But what I really liked was the psychologist himself. Uh, uh, or maybe it was just the Gestalt psychology, which basically was this part right here, is that the whole is not only greater than the sum of its parts, but the nature of the whole is fundamentally alters the parts. Uh, and I still kind of don't really understand that because I'm not a psychologist, but I like what he states, which is the most social acts have to be understood in their setting and lose meaning if isolated. No error in thinking about social facts is more serious than the failure to see their place and function. And I really like that because it's very true that you got to take a big picture look at things, and I think that applies a lot uh, to all areas in life. And, for me, particularly with my focus right now in politics, people like to throw out these statistics like this woman that was going against this 8-year-old, and she's just like, we're just looking at crimes and race. That's, just two pictures. And I feel like, well, crime has, there's crime's a very dynamic thing. There's a lot of layers to crime. And I just always think back to this guy where it's like you got to think about the whole picture. You fail to understand it if you just, isolate individual environmental fact or individual, you know, social acts. You know what I mean? And I just thought I thought that's super important to always have in the back of my mind when thinking about things. It's like, well, what are the other things that kind of play into this scenario that I'm trying to analyze? What other things can I factor in to gain a clearer perspective of how they truly unfold, and how do these things take place? Uh, and that was really interesting. So I was planning on doing that during lunch, but that's a lot of data to analyze in an hour. Not to mention I have to find that data, and then you know I was probably this is probably how I'm going to do future analysis. I was going to upload it to SQL, but a lot of the things that I'm looking at has to have dates associated with it, and if you ever uploaded anything to SQL, it's really finicky about the formats of their dates, and I'm terrible at cleaning data. Like it's a pain in the ass for me to edit things in Excel to like get the dates in a particular format because I suck at Excel. Uh, so I probably what I would do instead was to use a Python script and probably use something like pandas, and I would load them into some kind of like tensor. Pretty sure they call them tensors or data frames. Sorry, load it into a data frame, and then use something like DuckDB, which I don't know if you've ever used DuckDB. It's Duck, DuckDB is the shit, honestly. I love DuckDB. Uh, so you know you you load it into a data frame, and you can basically treat those data frames as SQL tables using DuckDB, and then you can just write SQL as like on that data frame. It's so sick. You don't have to do like the functional programming like group by things with the you know with the pandas data frame. It's way more intuitive just to write the SQL itself, and DuckDB will execute it like regular SQL. It's so sick. It is so. I used to use it all the time when I was a consultant. I mean, it's incredible stuff. Uh, it's so yeah, that's probably the way I was going to do it. And you can load multiple data frames. Like you can do like you can do operations on multiple tables. You can do joins and all that. All the crazy shit, all the things that you can do in regular SQL, you can do with DuckDB, which is pretty cool. I think it also supports polars. I think that's what I used primarily was polars actually. I think that's the name of it. Polars is like pandas, but it's way better. It's yeah, data frames for the new era. I think it's because uh, it's call liminarized data, so it's easier to do functions on the entire data set. I think that's the benefit of polars. It's uh, very fast, uh, but you can use polars with DuckDB uh, to do SQL uh, uh, on your data set or on your data frame. Provide high performance on complex queries against large databases and embedded configurations such as combining tables with hundreds of columns and billions of rows. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It's so sick. But I'll probably go that route. Uh, but again, to do that, I have to. If I really wanted to make a video about looking at what this girl did, because it was incredible that she's just ripping on this 8-year-old, and then like everyone in the comments was like, yeah, that 8-year-old should get a speech therapist too. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You're making fun of a child. You know what I mean? Like you're making fun of a child on the internet. Like what are you what are you doing? You just completely lose sight of uh like behavior, morals, whatever you want to fucking call it, like your manners. It's like, what if you did that in public? What if you made fun of an 8-year-old in public? That's crazy. It's absolutely insane. I couldn't believe what I was reading in the comments, but and that the video existed. But it's I mean that's the internet. That's an idiot. A grown man can call an 8-year-old you know, it's crazy. But anyways, I want to do this analysis. I want to actually see if I can make a valid argument, you know, saying that it actually is more than just, a race thing, that, looking at it from a racial perspective is, unfair. I shouldn't say racial, it's more of a demographic. I think that's a better word for it. Because, again, they're just looking at one number. They're like, all right, here's the crime statistics broken down by demographic, however, specific demographics. And that's a very I don't like it because it makes it seem like crime is tied to your race. It's like because you're this race, you do this much crime, which is completely not true. I think, like I said, my whole thesis is that crime is based on socioeconomic factors more than anything. And it's just like, I live in a bad area where crime happens because people are desperate because they don't have money, and they don't have a means to make more money and to get out of those situations. So, you know, finding some data to prove that would be really rewarding. I think that would be worth my time. Plus, it would give me some time to do some technical stuff on the side. I want to stay sharp on my technical skills because that's still very important to me. I went to school to develop these skills and to learn more about these skills, and it's I should be using them. So uh, I know we were saying we were going to use the do the open source intelligence graph with Neo4j and aggregating all those news sources, but this analysis would be really fun too. I mean, I really enjoy writing SQL, so that could be really cool. But uh, but yeah, that was this guy's the goat. I haven't read anything on his papers or anything. I just read about that that experiment. I don't know how I came across it. I was just you know how it is. You just go on random tangents and you start researching stuff. And yeah, came across him and I was like, oh yeah, I totally agree with this. This is the right way to think about things. Because you know things aren't black and white in all most aspects of things. I would say is that there's a lot of factors that come into play when you look at any kind of situation. I think it's very rare that it's you can isolate to one thing and have it be true. Life is not ideal. That's just the you know facts are pretty messy. So most situations are pretty messy. There's a lot of things that go into them. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? It was kind of just like a morning rant, just to get the brain firing. I worked out this morning. Not technical. I didn't like really work out. I just did some like stretches and some air squats. Some basic calisthenic stuff to loosen up the joints. So I'm a little sore, but I'm a little fired up. I think I'm gonna try and keep doing that because I don't know if you've seen me, but I'm not exactly in peak physical physique. There's a lot of improvement that I can do for myself, and that's kind of something I want to work on. Uh, oh yeah, I saw the government shutdowns in like 18 hours. It's supposed to shut down at midnight if there's not a deal made. So that's super important. We'll see how that goes. I feel bad for federal workers. That's tough. Sounds like there's going to be cuts. If the government does shut down. So that's unfortunate. Uh, but yeah, I saw Trump posted a video. It was a video of Schumer and uh, God, what's his name? Uh, I was just looking at him, and uh, God, what Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he makes this deepfake video, basically just making fun of Democrats. And I hate to say it, but it's really funny. Like like what they say in the video is really funny, but it's not funny because it's the president who posted this, which is like, come on. I would think this was really funny if someone else made it. If like a meme account made it, I think that would be really funny. But the fact that it's coming from, an elected official, it's just not even the elected official. It's like it's the president of the goddamn United States. Kind of it sucks. It's like really, come on, like I don't know what it is. I guess I just have like these different standards. I think of it kind of as like a role model, I guess I would say. Like you want the president to, at least I want him to hold the same kind of like standards that like I hold myself to and that I, would like to see people do. It's just like, respectful, good at their job, uh, and you know, just like of high moral standing, I guess. I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, what do I really believe in? In terms of politics, what do I not agree with? And I think the biggest thing I have against, our president is just I think it's less about his policies and it's more just like how he behaves, which is a weird thing to have against a president. It's like usually it's like certain policies. Uh, but yeah, it just sucks. It's just kind of disheartening to see such a because it's so much, it's so polarizing. It's just like it's not enough that you won. You just got to keep on pushing down on the people that we're supposed to be in this together. We may not agree, but I don't know. I still have to fully flesh out my feelings on this. The video is hilarious. That's the unfortunate thing. Like some of the things they're saying in it is hilarious, but again, it's not funny because it's coming out of the president's you know you know content, his page. He green light this. He said, yeah, that's great. Put it out to the public. Uh, but yeah, it's no, it's a damn shame. It really is. It makes me want more for it's just it's just like mudslinging, I guess. I guess that would be my main thing that I don't like. It's like you don't really, you don't highlight, you don't look better by making someone else, by making the guy you're compared against look worse. You know what I mean? Like I get that that's like a natural part of life and that's got to occur. Like in most scenarios, it's like, you know, this guy sucks. Discrediting people, that's a valid strategy, but when it's like your only strategy, uh, I'm probably going to eat my words on this, but you know, by saying it's his only strategy, he's like he's done a lot of amazing things. It's like, well, could we tone it down a little bit? Like, come on, God, yeah, I gotta flesh out my thoughts on this because it's I don't enjoy it, but I gotta be more explicit in why I don't enjoy it. It's just I don't know. I want more from the I guess from anyone that's leading, anyone that's my boss. If my boss at my job came in and just all they did was just shit on the previous boss and be like, well, you know, I don't know if I'd like that, you know. Now, Democrats, they do have a real problem. I think Democrats have an identity crisis because, there's no clear, at least from, my perspective, I haven't really looked into, I think that's my problem is I haven't looked into all this. It's only been a week, but there's no clear identity of, what it is we stand for, and we're letting, I'm saying we, but they're letting Republicans just trash their image. There's an image problem. Be like, what's the average Republican or average Democrat look like? Because when I think about Republicans, you know what I think of? I think of like frat kids. The and that's quote unquote the cool kids. You know what I mean? Like, just just cool. Fucking Christian. I don't know. Just family oriented. It's weird. It's I have a much positive, like I can see like the average Republican in a much more positive light. It's harder to think of them as something derogatory. So that's something that is really interesting. Uh, because what do you think about Democrats? When I think about Democrats, honestly, and I don't want to, if offend anyone, this is just my perspective on it. I think of, people with colored hair, who are, protesting. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think, I don't know. It just feels like Democrats are too spread out on a spectrum. It's like it seems like Republicans are just like this core people, like they're really banded together, and then Democrats are just really spread out in terms of what they believe in and what they represent, and and you know it gets extreme on both sides of the spectrum, I think, but I think it's very easier to think of the really extreme people on the Democrats, the liberals, but that's because I think a lot of the marketing of the Republicans have been highlighting that the extremism and the just the identity of a Democrat. So I a lot of this is me just shooting from the hip. I do that a lot. I eat my words very frequently by talking about things that I don't really know 100% about, but it's just my perspective. I'm just trying to work through it, trying to get a better understanding of it. But yeah, saw this video. I have no shame in admitting that I laughed. It was I mean they got some funny writers in the White House, but I don't I wish it came from someone else. You know what I mean? I wish it was my friend that posted this. If my friend posted this, I would laugh, but coming from the president, it's just like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? The government's about to shut down. Why are we making it harder to make a deal? You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. Uh yeah, those were the two main ones I wanted to talk about. I still have no idea if what's happening with the Mind Act. I mean, that's got to be on the back burner right now because we're trying to get a deal done on this, spending on the budget, whatever you want to call it, for the government shutdown. Uh, we can go in and look at some more policy. Maybe we'll do the analysis part of stream when I get home from work today. Uh, that might be really fun. I'll do some. I don't want to commit to it because again, I have commitment issues, and I always, I get home at 5 o'clock, and I'm like, well, I don't feel like talking about that, so let's talk about something else. But we'll see. We'll see how the day plays out. Uh, because I want to do something. Uh, I want to do something after stream. I did my meal prep yesterday, so I should be good for the week. So I don't know for the week, maybe for the next couple of days. I eat a lot, so uh, we will see how that goes. I've been I hate to admit it, I've been active on social media. I'm very conflicted on this, like personally. Like I feel like I'm being sucked into it, I feel like I'm falling for bait. Uh, but I tell myself the idea is that, if I add a different perspective in the comments when people go there, I can challenge their beliefs and get them to, you know, start thinking, you know, taking into perspective these other ways of looking at Democrats or just looking at people that disagree with them, people that are on the other side of the aisle, and try to do so in a way that doesn't discredit and ruin that image of the people they disagree with. And I've had some good engagement so far. I've had two conversations. One of them was this guy I was debating with on Fearless Debates, talking about you know, the deportation of immigrants. And, my stance on it is that, you know, we should be deporting immigrants, but a lot of those funds should be allocated to, making it easier, not easier, but more efficient to become a citizen naturally, legally, by hiring, more people that support that process and investing in education so that, more people can become qualified to then take those jobs. Basically, just incentivizing that whole pipeline of, building out that infrastructure. Uh, and then I said, the arguments was like, we need immigrants for those, those low low wage, high labor jobs. Like I imagine like strawberry picking, working on a farm, things that can't be automated and have to be done by hand. And like, I just, if you say that, Americans are going to take those jobs, I'm like, the economics of hiring Americans doesn't make sense to me because, even in the video, they stated that, you can hire, a bunch of immigrants for the same price as, one American. So I basically was just highlighting that point. I was like, just make that make sense, and I'll look into it, and I'll change sides. But I don't see how that works out in terms of money. And he was going back and forth. I can tell he was upset. He kept asking me to make, you know, to uh, to make points, and I was like, yeah, I'm saying them right here. I just re-quoted myself, trying to stay calm, and and then I also re-emphasized that liberty applies to all people. It's not just people you agree with. And then my stance on, I believe, America, we should take pride in the fact that America is a safe haven for people that are escaping persecution, and we should protect the people that want to make our country great and come to our country to make it great. Uh, they want to live. They believe in freedom. They want to live a free life. And if they're law-abiding citizens, that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, that is not an issue. Uh, and we should celebrate that. He stopped responding after a little bit, which is pretty typical. And then the other conversation I had, there was this kid I saw. He's this young kid, 21 years old. Uh, he had made a video saying he had gotten fired from his job because he posts conservative content. And in the video, he includes these snippets where it's supposed to be his conversation with HR, but he never includes the HR's audio, so it's just him talking. And I just wrote LOL and explained I was laughing because there's no other side. It could just be a totally fake conversation, which turns out it was a fake conversation. And I was like, I made sure to include at the end that I feel bad for him if he did actually get laid off. And someone commented, they were like, how can he ruin the business's reputation if the business is not known? I was like, okay. It was really funny. I was at Walmart when he responded, and I was like, "I'll get back to you in a minute. I'm at Walmart." I thought that was funny, but unfortunately, the kid, has this account under his legal name. Uh, that's the account handle is his full, you know, real name. So I was like, all right. Went on LinkedIn, looked it up. Sure enough, I found his account. Saw that he's been employed with this one guy for 2 years, and I was like, yeah, he has a LinkedIn. He's been at this company for 2 years. I don't think he's been fired. Just like just proving the video's a lie. And I thought that was funny, and it's also an important lesson for that kid if he does read his comments. It's like you take a really big risk by putting out your full legal name on social media. I mean, that's a huge liability. I mean, that's why all the things I do are pseudonyms besides my personal accounts. But again, those are personal accounts. Like that's where I follow friends and family. All this other engagement stuff where I'm engaging with the public, I keep it, under wraps, or I try my best to. I don't, especially if you're going to be posting polarizing stuff like that. It's if you're not worried about it coming back to your employer, like I don't worry about most of the stuff I do on here coming back to my employer because I try to be, you know, uh, reasonable, and I try to, prove most of my points with like evidence and like research, and I try to be, you know, keep this professional in a sense. I do swear a lot, which that's a problem with me. I find this as a more relaxed platform to do such things, but yeah, it's a real risk, and I feel bad for the kid. He's young. He has like 900,000 followers, which I don't know if you can still buy followers, but it seemed odd, you know. But but yeah, I saw that. I just thought the video was funny. Just I wouldn't have commented if it wasn't for that snippet where it was like him talking and then there was no response. I thought that was pretty funny. That's actually what got me to engage with the Fearless Debates page. Was because I saw on their page was just them debating, but it was just them saying their opinions, and then there was no other side. But after doing further research on it this other day, I saw on the main guy's page, he did include the back and forth, which is good. That's what I wanted to see. But that's the most effective content. I think it's like it's not really what's more engaging, him saying what he believes or him defending what he believes. You know what I mean? Against someone that's challenging him. So that's good. I got to get ready for work. I got to head out here actually right now. But yeah, hopefully I come back and stream, after work. But we'll see how it goes. Uh, yeah, still want that same type of content where you go to public campuses and you debate people. I'm like, work with the schools. I think it would be really interesting to see how that turns out if the school was given a heads up and students had time to prepare. I feel like it would be a much more even debate, because these kids spend their whole time. I mean, all they do is, I don't know if it's all they do, but a lot of the, time they spend is traveling to these different places and having these events. I'm like, well, give the kids a heads up. Who knows how that'll turn out? You'd probably have better debates. That's my idea is like you'd have better debates. You'd hear, kids can prepare arguments and they less likely to embarrass themselves. But you never know. You never know. Plus, I know it's not what they want. They want to get kicked off campuses because it's good for views, but you'd be less likely to be kicked off campuses, and you know, but again, you wouldn't be able to complain about it and post videos about you getting escorted off campus. That one video is an exception because those students were they were in the wrong. I mean, they completely were out of line. But I think that was at Tennessee. But no, they seem like good guys. It's I respect what they do. You know, it's good that they're involved. I think more people should be involved. You know, but I guess with a grain of salt, it depends. It really does depend. Uh, I would have to think about that more, but I want Democrats to have a better image. I think that's the end of it. I think at my core, I'm probably like a 2008 Republican. I think maybe a 2008 Democrat. I don't know. I don't know what politics were like back then, but I was raised a Republican. It's just that I don't like the party right now. I don't agree with a lot of the things that are going on. At least from the snippets that I've seen before I looked into this stuff. So now I'm trying to look into it and get more educated and have a more justifiable opinion. But it takes time. I mean, it takes time with everything. So keep doing my research, keep engaging. Even though I worry that I'm going to get embarrassed, which is going to happen eventually. Someone's going to school me. That's just what's going to happen. So I'm going to try to try to keep it classy. Uh, Try to do my research and just keep it up. But I enjoy doing this. I enjoy being, you know, producing quote unquote content. I enjoy talking about this stuff. So, learning at the same time. But yeah, I got to go to work. I'm going to fill up my coffee and head out. Everyone have a good day. I will hopefully see you at 5 o'clock. If I don't, I'll see you tomorrow morning. But let's get after it. Have a good one. And I will see you when I see you.